Young adults setting out to make their way in the world face all sorts of challenges. It doesn't usually include caring for middle-aged parents until it does. A new feature documentary, Much Too Young, follows four families as they cope with the diagnosis of a parent with early onset Alzheimer's disease. And we're pleased to bring to our studios tonight Christopher Wynn, producer and co-director of the doc, Much Too Young. Catherine Futerich is a member of one of the four families featured in the doc. She is the daughter of Patricia. Kathleen Fraschetti is the eldest daughter of another family in the doc. She is Moira's daughter. And we welcome back Dr. Sharon Cohen, behavioral neurologist and director, Toronto Memory Program. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Dr. Cohen, I'd like to start with you. If you could put on your doctor hat one more time, what defines early onset Alzheimer's?
Early onset Alzheimer's disease is Alzheimer's disease with symptoms starting before the age of 65. So it sounds very arbitrary. It's just an age cutoff. We think of Alzheimer's disease as a disease of seniors, and by and large, the majority are over 65, in their 70s, 80s. However, about 6% of individuals develop symptoms before age 65, even as early as in their 30s, 40s, 50s. There's a little bit higher chance that there's a strong genetic component when you develop the disease young, but the symptoms are pretty much the same as regular Alzheimer's. A bit of forgetfulness that becomes very severe forgetfulness, problems with communication, wayfinding, the whole host of problems with day-to-day function and behaviors that we see in regular Alzheimer's.
Other than the age when it appears, is there anything else to differentiate from other forms of dementia?
Well, the genetic component, as I mentioned, a certain proportion of people with early onset Alzheimer's will have a gene mutation causing the disease, but that is quite rare. And the major differentiating point is not so much what's going on in the brain, but how it interacts with the age of the individual and the family dynamics. So people are at the beginning or midpoint in their career. They may have a lot of responsibilities, engineers, doctors, lawyers, supporting their family, often young children at home or school-age, university-age children at home, who then are not yet established in their own careers and don't have experience with caregiving necessarily, don't have children of their own, and are faced with a responsibility they weren't counting on this early in life. And people are faced with loss of job. They're faced with, as a young person developing Alzheimer's disease, a disbelief that this could be Alzheimer's and therefore a delayed diagnosis. So
even though early diagnosis is key to get
and in regular older age Alzheimer's, diagnosis is often delayed, and even more so. It's hard to get the attention of a doctor, get someone to take you seriously when you're 35, 40, 50, and you have these symptoms, and people think, oh, you're just not trying, you're lazy, there's marital problems, there's, whatever excuse you can come up with, psychiatric problem. So there's a delay in diagnosis, and once the diagnosis is finally made, services are not really as plentiful, and they're scarce enough for our seniors. So it's not a competition, it's a problem, but at different ages, the problem may be more acute. There aren't a lot of activity programs or social services that are really that appealing to younger people. A man in his 50s or early 60s doesn't necessarily want to go to a day activity program where there are a lot of gray-haired people sitting around in a sing-song. It's not a good fit.
We're going to, I think when you watch the documentary, it touches on a lot of the things that you're talking about. Christopher, the documentary itself features several families with loved ones who have been diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's disease. Why was this story important for you to tell?
Well, it was important on a number of levels. First of all, my father actually had early onset Alzheimer's disease. He was diagnosed when he was 57, but this is going back about 10 years ago. Along with my mother and my brother and sister, we helped look after him. Now, I wasn't as young as the people in this documentary. I was in my early 30s, but it definitely affected me. There's certain things in my life I had to put on hold, work, my social life. And after I went through everything, and actually after my father had passed away, I ended up becoming an advocate and speaking at different chapters of the Alzheimer's Society right across Canada. And I realized that there were younger families out there.
Younger than you were.
Younger than mine, and that this story needed to be told because I had heard the same story about Alzheimer's over and over, and that was usually somebody over 65. And I thought we really need to start looking at this disease from a different angle. So that was my first idea was to create this film and focus on the younger caregivers. And as well, different people from different chapters of the Alzheimer's Society has said to me, we need to educate a younger demographic. And a younger demographic is not very likely to watch a documentary about somebody in their 80s or 90s that has this disease. However, they'd be more inclined or more interested in watching a film that has somebody their own age, someone in their 20s or even a teenager.
The documentary, there's a lot of personal details. It's very intimate. What was it like trying to get people to participate in the documentary?
It definitely took some time. From the first time I had the idea, meeting with different people at the Alzheimer's Society, meeting with some families, talking to them. But because I had been through it myself, and I told families I'd been through it, or I showed them actually some film that I had made about my father, that they became a little bit more interested in me and in the crew and stuff. And so it was a long process. But it wasn't until I actually heard of an organization here in Toronto called Memory Ball, which Catherine is a part of, that I met Catherine and we became friends, and we started to talk and compare notes, and then actually met Kathleen through someone at the Alzheimer's Society of Guelph, and I actually went to Kathleen's for dinner one night. And so it was a slow process, and even when we began to film too, I think it was probably a little bit awkward for the families at first, but we made sure that, you know, we became friends and we trusted each other, and they trusted in us that we would tell the story that wanted to be told.
I'd like to show a clip of the documentary, and this part shows you, Kathleen, with your sister Emily, and you've been out with your mom, and this is what happens.
Here, come here.
You hold the door, I'll get her. Come on, Mom,
Big
you're
step
gonna
down.
step
One,
down.
two,
I'm gonna step.
three.
One.
1, 2, 3. Big
Okay.
step down. You can do it. It's fine.
Yeah, I know.
Everything's
I'm
okay.
fine. Just let me get there.
She's like not trying to be in this lady's way, but she didn't know how to move to like get out. She didn't understand this person can get by, and I was like, just wanted this person to like give me some space so I could help her. And like I felt bad because I'm like holding up the line because I can't pay for this because I'm trying to tell my mom to move. And it's just like, yeah, I came home and I told my sister that, and she's like, well, why didn't you say something? Like, why didn't you say like she has Alzheimer's? I'm like, I can't do that. I'm not like you. I'm not gonna tell someone like that. And it's like really difficult for me.
Okay, down,
Yeah, down.
down.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. And a little
We made it.
Yay.
That's an emotional part, and it must be emotional for you watching it. And that's your younger sister, Emily, and she was saying that, you know, she has a hard time telling people about your mom's condition. Why did you want to participate in this?
My mom, when she was diagnosed with this disease, any opportunity that came her way, she said, I want to help people in the same situation as me. So it really wasn't a difficult choice for us to participate in the documentary. And I think it's coming at a really great time where so many people are in the same situation as us, and there's not a lot of resources, not a lot of understanding around Alzheimer's. So I think that was our reason that we decided to participate as well.
What's it like watching that?
It's emotional, it's difficult. I think we tend to be very in the present when we're caregiving, so it's to reflect back on it. It does bring back a lot of emotions, and it's difficult. But it's nice to have the memory of where we were.
And Catherine, why did you want to be in the documentary?
Well, like Chris mentioned, he and I met through an event that I co-founded with some other girls called Memory Ball. And from the beginning of our family's journey with the disease and kind of a quick realization that there's not much you can really do in the way of making things better or getting better or reversing what's happening, we had a strong desire in my family to do something that would make a difference or help. And like Kathleen said about her mom, she wanted to do something that would help a broader community, and our mom would have felt the same way. So I started an initiative that was sort of raising awareness and educating people about a disease that we knew nothing about when it first affected our family so intimately. And when I met with Chris, it just seemed like another avenue to help a greater
Conversation?
yeah, to be started and more understanding, which is really lacking.
What went through your mind the first time you saw the documentary?
Oh, It was a lot. It was very emotional. It's really hard to live in something so intense for so long. We're almost at 10 years in the disease, and you, like Kathleen said, you don't reflect often because the demands of the present are always changing and always there. And so it's hard to take the time to reflect. So to watch the documentary and to see things that have become normal to us, it was really hard to watch, to watch each other's families struggle, to watch your siblings struggle in different ways, and also to see your parent kind of frozen in time, often, I think for all of us, better than they currently are, because filming took place a few years ago now and they changed so quickly and you don't really notice while it's happening. So it was a lot, it was overwhelming, but we're very happy with it and have absolutely no regrets about our involvement at all.
I would like to show you another clip of the documentary and then we'll come back and talk some more.
Can you show me your teeth?
Be quiet, please.
Mom.
Go sit. No, go
Mom,
away.
I need you to help me.
What do you need?
Can you go, ah?
Shh, be quiet, you stupid.
Mom.
No, they hate them.
Okay.
They hate
Then you're
them.
gonna just get mad.
They hate them. They hate them. They hate them.
Relax.
And we hate
Mom.
them. And we hate them.
We're
You're
all
good.
Mom.
You're out of those strains.
Mom,
You're out of
stop.
here. You're out of here.
Oh.
You're out of here.
Ah.
You're out of here, yeah. You're out of here, yeah. You're already out. You're already out. You're already got. She's a right.
Okay, I know you're mad.
She's a right. She's a
Okay, I get it.
Now stop it. You
There,
stupid
you can
idiot.
spit into the sink. Spit,
up.
you can spit it out.
What?
Good. You
You
spit all over me.
No, they
Yes.
didn't, did they?
You did.
They did? That was
You
terrible.
spit all over my shirt.
Oh no, that was, oh no, what happened?
You put toothpaste on me.
What happened? What?
You?
You were pretty. You were so pretty.
There's a lot of emotion there from one side to the other side. How has this illness changed your relationship with your mother?
Oh, it's changed it immensely. I think most parent-to-child relationships is caregiving, the parent giving that care to the child, raising them, being there for them throughout their entire life, probably into adulthood, but that's something now that we won't experience. It just totally reversed that aspect of a mother-child relationship, where the care very quickly was coming from myself and my brothers back to our mom. And it was so obvious that we kind of jumped into being there for her, but it was a very hard shift to take on when we ourselves still needed certain guidance and answers and needed our mom for things that we just didn't have her there for anymore.
And you showed such kindness in that clip. I could feel the stress of the situation. How do you stay present in a situation like that?
I think you go into you get into the zone, as they say, I guess. And you know there's a task at hand that has to be completed. So hygiene routines are big because it's all preventative of any further issues happening. So things like brushing teeth or showering or going to the washroom and eating are just things you have to get through during the day. So you figure out how to navigate that, and you try to use those tools as much as you can before the disease progresses again, and you have to find new
So
ways.
in that situation for you, it's just methodical, like this has to get done.
I mean, watching those back, I can see how other people might see it and feel that stress. And for us, it's kind of like, okay, this is how we brush mom's teeth now, and we just have to get her teeth brushed, however that happens.
Kathleen, I'd like to ask you the same question. Essentially, you're parenting your parent. How has this changed your relationship with your mother?
I think Catherine said it so well. It changes everything. There's this big role reversal where you're now the parent to your parent, and you can't focus on it too much. Like Catherine said, you just try and use all the tools that you have that work today and hope that they work tomorrow, and work on developing new skills as you go along.
And in the documentary, you take charge in a lot of situations, sometimes overriding what your dad wants. How did that come around?
As my sister describes me, I have a big personality. So I think it's just my natural personality showing through. I think in certain situations, like as you saw earlier, my sister is a little bit more shy than I, where I would just be like, excuse me, I need my time. But I think our natural personalities shine through in the way that we take care of our parents, and I think that's a really awesome thing.
And also, you're very protective of her.
Yes, always. You always have to be scanning situations, making sure that you're avoiding any potential conflict. You really are being a parent in every situation.
And I'm guessing this probably has like a significant impact on your personal and professional lives. What kind of impact has it had?
For me personally, I would say one of the biggest things was the disconnection from your ability to relate to your friends and their problems especially. I struggled with a lot of resentment. And I don't know, I mean, over the course of time, everything's great and I have great relationships with great friends, but it took a long time to figure out how to talk about this so that it wasn't gonna negatively affect your whole life. I think having siblings, which we both have, and I are really fortunate to have, really helps. And professionally, it's a demand on your time that I never could have possibly imagined. The way it pulls you away from plans that you have, things change at the drop of a hat, because if your mom needs you, she needs you. So you change what you're doing.
Yeah.
And about you?
I think the biggest thing is time, where you need time to cultivate your relationships, whether friends or boyfriends or other relationships, and time to cultivate your career, because you're at a time where you should be putting in a lot of work to kind of get ahead, and you have other demands that kind of takes it away.
And has had an impact on your career?
I would say more so in terms of my friends and personal relationships, because it's difficult to find time to balance everything.
And in the film, you talk about fond memories of your childhood and all these nice memories you had with your mom. Does she remember those memories?
No, she doesn't.
And you, Catherine?
I don't believe so anymore. She does repeat my older brother's name a lot, and then the name John, who is neither of my brothers, but she has a brother, John. So there's some happy memories, I think, in there, obviously. I believe that they're deep down, but not that she could ever express or communicate to us in a way that we could, have a conversation.
And I'm wondering, too, about the impact on your moms, because Kathleen, your mom used to write code, right? She used to be an engineer before she became a stay-at-home mom. Do you ever wonder about what kind of impact the illness is having on her?
Yeah, and I think in the early stages of the disease, we really saw that, how frightening and upsetting it can be, because I think she realized that she was losing a part of herself and wasn't getting the answers as to why it was happening. So I think in the beginning, she really struggled with that as well, and I can't imagine what she was going through.
And you, Catherine?
Yeah, in a similar way, a lot of things that just defined my mom for who she was, which is, being very independent and courageous and very intelligent, huge reader, all of these things that really defined who she was and were a big part of a lot of her relationships were being taken away, and no one understood why, especially her. And she was very nervous and dependent and anxious and just fragile, which was so unlike her. So it was scary to see, and probably the scariest of all for her. But it just, I think, takes away a lot of what makes a person, and that's what's heartbreaking about it.
And Dr. Cohen and Christopher, you've also been through that experience. What's it like to see a part of your parent disappear, Dr. Cohen?
Sadly, I lost my father to Alzheimer's, and I'm looking after my mom, who also has dementia. And even though I was fortunate that their disease started later in life, there's a tremendous loss of a very personal, important relationship when you lose a mom or a dad, and when you lose them gradually in slivers over years. It is really quite devastating. It's hard to deal with, as Kathleen and Catherine have described so well. You don't have time, actually. And even though I was older, I was in the sandwich generation looking after children myself, so maybe not still in school, but busy. And I consider myself fairly capable in caregiving, and fortunately I have resources, so I'm not struggling that way. But from a personal standpoint, it's painful. And when your mother no longer knows who you are, or doesn't have the niceties to say thank you or be appreciative, or swats at you if you do something that's not quite what she wanted, and I consider myself pretty lucky that I'm not dealing with very challenging behaviors in either of my parents. They're mostly very grateful. but you feel so sad, you know, that the person they were isn't there, and you also feel like at some point, I will really grieve, but not now. And what's that going to be like? You know, that goes on for a while. That outlives the number of years that the individual has the disease.
Because you have to be
for
present
the survivors,
doing so much. Right.
that's right. You go over and over how unfair it was to your mom or dad, to yourself, to your kids in my case, whom I try and protect from caregiving. They're the age of these great people, and I protect them from the caregiving because I'm there to do it, and I don't want their lives interrupted. Kathleen and Catherine had no choice. They jumped right in and probably have learned huge life skills and gained great maturity, but what a way to do it. You know, I mean, who needs that? You do become, or at least there's the potential to become, a better, kinder, more empathic, empathetic person, and I'm grateful for that. But there's a lot of pain, and it stays with you. There's a lot of gratitude also for what you have, and I saw that in the movie with with several of the families saying, okay, we still have mom, you know, let's not act like she's gone. She's still here, let's enjoy every moment. And I think that feeling of regret that we could have done more, we could have spent more time, we could have just focused on more joyous things, but at the time it seemed like things were falling apart, but actually those were the good days, because it got worse. You know, let's go back to 3 months ago. It just isn't possible.
And Chris, for you?
Yeah, so I mean, everything that Dr. Cohen said, because it is in the past for me, it's a little easier to talk about, but I think you know, what you have to realize is that Kathleen and Catherine are still going through this today. When they go home this afternoon, they still have to take care of their mom. And I think living in the presence is something that every family, it's okay to remember the past, but be in the present and accept who they are at this moment. Give them their dignity. And what I often say to people, that it didn't matter if my dad didn't know who I was. If he thought I was a friend and he's in a good mood, then that's a good day.
And Catherine, your father, I feel, I don't mean to be intrusive in your family life, but it was touched on in the documentary. Your father left your family when you were younger, and he came back to be the primary caregiver of your mother. How has your mother's illness changed the family dynamics?
It's changed that. Bringing my dad into the picture is something that I doubt would have ever happened. I mean, he was always around, but the relationship that we have now, myself and him, and then him with my two brothers, and this never would have happened. So the disease, we really did come together in order to make this work. And looking back now, I'm really thankful for that. It was not easy. It was a whole other level of emotional and complex emotions that I had no idea how to navigate, and my brothers as well. But we needed him, and I'm so grateful that he is there. And it's changed the dynamic in the sense that it was like the birth of a relationship I think that I might never have had if she hadn't gotten sick.
How did the two of you meet? Catherine?
Through the documentary, yeah. So through Chris, I guess. And then we met for the first time at Memory Ball, which is that event that happens.
We're going to talk about Memory Ball.
Oh, okay. So Kathleen and her siblings came and met myself and my brothers for the first time there, which was really nice. And then she and I have a great friendship out of this, and we get along really well. Not just because our moms are sick, but yeah. So we've gotten something great out of this as well. Yeah.
I mean, the initials and the age, meeting like this. What does this relationship mean to you?
It means honestly so much. Catherine was actually the first person I met who had a parent with Alzheimer's. So it's very special that we have this friendship, because she's actually still the only person I know with a parent with Alzheimer's. So it's really nice to know that someone so close to me is experiencing the same thing and really understands all of the struggles and challenges that I have.
And Christopher, are there support groups for young caregivers?
There aren't a lot. There are some, I believe, but it's hard for. I think it's. Dr. Cohen could talk about this as well. It's hard for any family to come forward to say they have Alzheimer's. I think it's hard for younger families. Therefore, it's very hard for, younger caregivers to talk to their friends, as we've heard already. So to go and join a support group, I feel that support groups might have a bit of a stigma behind them. You have to come into a room full of strangers and tell people your story. Now, I know Catherine and I have talked about this before, and there are support groups that you could go to, and I've been to them before, but if you're going to sit in a room with a bunch of people who are in their 50s or 60s,
you don't have very much in common.
Exactly. That's one of the main problems. So I think there is a movement, and hopefully with Much Too Young, there'll be more people talking about, more organizations saying we should try to have support groups for younger kids, but I don't know how that would look and how, how children might be more interested in going to a support group. They definitely need support. It's just, what does that look like?
And Catherine and Kathleen are not even the youngest in the documentary.
No.
Are there support groups for, she was 13, right?
Aurelia was 13. She's 14 now, but yeah, she was 13 when we made the
Are there
film.
support groups for kids that age, or?
They have different, I know there's support groups for young caregivers in general. I've heard of a few of those, but not specifically for Alzheimer's dementia.
And what do your moms do? Is there a support group for them? Like, what do they do during the day?
We weren't fortunate enough to find any sort of day program that ever worked for her, and she was very aware during the time that we were trying to find something like that she didn't fit in. And she was very, very upset and angry that we even thought of having her attend one of these. So she's been at home the whole time. We've been really fortunate in having people from our community that help, finding private companies who offer companionship and that type of thing. And then she's one of 5 kids, so she has siblings, and then my brothers and myself, and there's a lot of people that can step in. And for that, because of that, we are in a pretty good spot.
Was your mom able to say why she didn't want to go to a support group?
She knew that she didn't belong there, and she was, at that time, still able to express that she was kind of in denial about her disease. Yeah, because of the age. And when we walked in, there's a bunch of people who I guess I would assume were over the age of 70, and they were stretching their fingers and stretching their hands on a chair and standing up and sitting down. And meanwhile, she's like a physically able and quite fit 54-year-old at that time. So it just wasn't the right space. They were playing music from a different generation. It just wasn't an environment that she would feel comfortable in.
And Kathleen, in the documentary, you see your mom going to a group.
Yeah, so at the present time, my mom goes to a day program, which is mostly targeted towards seniors, but in her early stages, she did attend a support group for early onset Alzheimer's. I think it was about 7 of them, and I think she really appreciated the companionship and friendship of knowing that other people were in the same situation.
So she liked it?
Yeah, she loved it.
We've mentioned the name a couple of times. Chris, what is the memory ball?
Well, Catherine can probably explain a little bit better than I can, but over my years as being an advocate and being to different organizations, I'd never actually been to an event like Memory Ball because, again, I had been to a lot of events that people were 50 plus. So when I first met Catherine, they had invited me to Memory Ball about 3 years ago, and it was just great to see a group of younger people learning about the disease, raising money. So it's an organization here in Toronto that has an annual event, an annual evening where they raise money for the Alzheimer's Society. But they do a lot more than that with education and awareness, and it was just great to see these younger people coming together to do that.
Why is it important to you, the Memory Ball?
I think the biggest reason was meeting some of the girls I met through it. So in particular, a girl, Carolyn Poirier, whose mother is also sick, and she was one of the first people I met who had a parent with Alzheimer's. And it was just an opportunity for us, feeling all misunderstood and alone, to tell our friends about what we were going through and educate them on something that probably was only going to become more and more common in our age group with our aging parents, even though they're all middle-aged. But it was just, the most important part of it is educating people so that there's a broader understanding that this is happening.
And Dr. Cohen, you were also involved in the documentary.
Yes.
How so?
My role was to try and make some medical sense out of behaviors that seemed so baffling. You know, how brushing one's teeth could be so challenging or lying down on the bed could be so frightening. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the brain's very complicated, and when we see people acting in ways we don't understand, we often withdraw, think they're crazy, don't want to get involved, remove ourselves from the situation. So I think the hope in involving me was that I could bring a little bit of sense to what was going on. So I was involved in a few compendium clips that were 4 minutes each, where we were looking at some of the struggles in the family, and I was trying to put on my neurology hat and explain what's going on in the brain.
And Chris, what would people see in the virtual reality component?
Well, yeah, so there are 4 short documentaries that people can download that are separate from the film, but it still involves actually Kathleen and her mom Moira. So you can actually get sort of a little bit of an update to see what Kathleen's going through now and what Moira's like.
And where can people find them?
They can find them at muchtooyoung.com. And so there's these little short documentaries involving Dr. Cohen where you see specifics of Moira trying to get downstairs or brushing teeth or going to bed, and you hear from Kathleen and her dad and Dr. Cohen about what, how they help her, but also Dr. Cohen talks about what maybe Moira could be seeing or experiencing when she's standing at the top of a set of stairs.
We talked about this a little bit earlier about remaining present, but how do you stay present knowing that the disease is only going to get worse with time? Dr. Cohen?
How do you do that? That's a good question. I think you can do that in a variety of ways, but one way that's very important and hard to do is to accept the limitations in what you can do and focus on keeping people safe and happy and also taking care of yourself. So those are monumental things, but you need to think about those in the present time. So the future will be the future, but now, is mom safe? Is she happy? Am I okay? You have to check in with yourself as well, because if I'm not okay, who's going to look after mom? So you do it for yourself because you're important, and also for the person that you love and you're looking after who's very dependent on you.
I'd like to ask Kathleen and Catherine the same question. How do you stay present knowing that the disease is only going to get worse with time?
I guess that's maybe one of the positive, I'm hesitant to use the word positive, but one of the positive things about how long this lasts is the fact that you can start to understand that when things felt so terrible 1 year in and like your whole entire world was falling apart, like you had mentioned, you look back on that even 6 months later and you wish for that time and you wish things could have just stayed there even though it seemed so awful then. So I think if you can allow yourself to start accepting things and start seeing the fact that it's only going to keep declining and progressing, that you can try and find those moments in the day to really hold on to and make the most of, because it takes a long time. I don't think you ever lose, I heard this saying somewhere that hope dies last, and I don't think you ever lose hope that things might get better, but you do realize that just from what you're experiencing yourself firsthand, that it's not looking great. So you might as well try as hard as you can to make the most of everything. And that also means stepping away when you need to and checking in with yourself so that you don't lose yourself in frustration and anger at what's happening.
And I think one of the most poignant moments in the documentary is something that you said. And you said that one of the hardest things about this disease is that you don't have time to grieve. Mm-hmm. Have you found a way?
No. So I would say that's something that I'm terrified of for the future. I feel it in small amounts. I panic, I wake up in the morning and for an instant can't believe it's happening, and that happens often, but I haven't really had time to grieve and reflect on who she was, and I actually have trouble remembering a lot from before this disease started, and I'm hopeful that'll come back in the future and that'll be part of the grieving process to remember her for the mom that she was for 21 years. But I would say I haven't really found the time to grieve. Like I try to be aware of my emotions and be healthy in expressing them. But there isn't much time to do that when there's so much in the present that the mom of today needs you for.
Right.
Yeah.
If I can just say, experiencing losses, consecutive losses, is very painful. It's not the same as grieving that someone's passed away. And you feel that's coming, it's coming, but to start grieving that you've really lost mom, that she's not here, and she's very much here. She's a different mom, but she's here. It's almost disrespectful. You don't want to allow yourself the opportunity to feel that mom's gone, because There are things that have to go on when she's really gone that you can't really let enter the situation now. So it's a real juggling act. Yeah, the loss is painful. She doesn't behave like mom. She doesn't react like mom. She can't do the things that we loved her to do or want her to do. So you feel the losses, but the grieving's going to come later. And I think it's another thing that we have to accept, that we can't do it all now. We're trying to be so perfect as caregivers, including doing some grieving. Well, you know, that's going to happen later. And it's not going to be easy.
Kathleen, I wanted to ask you the same question about how do you stay present knowing it's only going to get worse?
I think it's really just about appreciating who your mom or parent is today. I think seeing anything outside of that is too overwhelming at times, that and you don't want to look back 3 months ago and be like, wow, she was so great then. You want to remember that moment and really appreciate it for what it was.
And I think too, there's probably like a level of like, you don't want to jinx anything, right?
Yeah.
Before we get into the documentary, Much Too Young, Catherine and Kathleen, how are your moms today?
My mom is very happy. She's in, her reality is sort of separate from ours, but she's happy most of the time. She's at home still. She's, I would say, quite easy to deal with in comparison to some stories that you hear about how this disease can take its course. She's just content and in a safe place and in a comfortable place. And it's sad for us that she might not recognize us anymore, but right now it's just keeping her happy and healthy, and I would say that we're doing that. And so I think right now it's really the best that it can be.
And Kathleen?
My mom's good. Different than what you'll see in the film, but there are still parts of her that are very much alive, like her feisty spirit and her generosity and loving nature. She is a bit combative and aggressive at times, but she is still cooperative and the same mom that she used to be, just in a different way.
And Chris, I wanted to give you the last question. You made a documentary about your dad and doing a documentary on these other families. What have you learned in the process?
I've learned that one story about Alzheimer's is really only one story. And just because you watch a Hollywood movie about Alzheimer's dementia doesn't mean you know what Alzheimer's dementia is. So I always tell people that you have to learn, the reason that we had 4 families in Much Too Young is to do that, is to tell 4 different stories, because it affects everybody differently and everyone's journey is differently. So to really understand the disease, you have to, learn a bunch of different things about it and, watch films, read books, really. But to be honest, really the only way you'll understand it is through living through it.
Chris, Kathleen, Catherine, and Dr. Cohen, thank you so much for being here and
Thank
sharing
you.
parts of you, and we really appreciate your insights.
Thank you.
Help TVO create a better world through the power of learning. Visit TVO.org and make a tax-deductible donation today.